Hello everyone. Welcome to the second Spotlight in January. Now, before I get into the deep stuff, which is going to be in 1 minute, I just want to mention two things. First is, we are finally getting back to our big mystery releases that we had not too long ago, but then we started to do what we called solos, which is one session per video release. And we did that because we were experimenting with a bunch of technologies for getting things correct, and we didn't want to put the whole kitchen sink into a mystery that wasn't turning out so great because of the new technologies we were using with Unreal Engine and Reallusion, and those are animation type things, and it was complicated. So what we did was we started putting out solos where we could control things one session at a time. But that's done. We are informally Farsight 3.0. We have a new way of doing things. We are actually improving it, but the big stuff is sorted out, which took us a long time. It was a lot of learning how to use software, become technical people with all of that stuff, plus using new equipment and stuff. But we got it all worked out. So we're back to doing major mysteries. And we were going to have something come out this past week, like a couple days ago. But then we decided it was so important. Once we start grouping the sessions together into these mystery formats, it was like so huge. We start seeing it sort of bring together. Everything's congealing that we're putting it off for a couple days. So that next major mysteries is going to come out maybe like Wednesday or something. But we did put out a Conversations with Harvey in the Conversations with Harvey series. But this time it was not with Harvey. It was between Aziz and his sister Ebonique, the hybrid ET on the ships, and we just put that out. So if you haven't seen that on FarsightPrime.com, that's really good. We also recorded at the same time another conversation with Ebonique, but this time with me and Aziz together, so it was a three-way, and that's going to be coming out pretty soon as well. Anyway, but the next huge major mysteries, I don't want to spill the beans. This is Aziz's thing. Look, Aziz has a degree from Emory in anthropology, archaeology. He's got a master's degree from Leicester University in international relations. He likes putting everything together. He's traveled all throughout Asia and Africa. He likes putting things together, and he's deep into archaeology and stuff. He's the real Daniel Jackson, if there ever was one. Well, he's been putting things together in a way that I could never have imagined. I'm a political scientist, mathematician. But he's been putting things together in an archaeological fashion, and some of the sessions, some of the projects that we've been working on, he's starting to put together. And he's finding connections that are just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming between stuff that most people would think are totally unrelated, but they are not unrelated. You get the same basic dynamics happening with the same basic people, different names, when you get to these like different religions where you dealt with Zeus and where you dealt with all the Roman gods and everything. And then you go into Asia and you find the same people but different names, different religions. And then you see the reptilians appearing in different forms, different ways. Like in Asia, reptilians are really revered. Like go through some of the like Thai airports, you see reptilians all over the place and the statues and everything. So, and then in Japan, the same type of thing, different names and everything. Anyway, he's putting these things together. And I don't know if you've ever watched the Stargate series, but what Aziz is putting together is way more complicated and way more interesting than the Goa'uld of Stargate, which is, I mean, it's really unbelievable. Anyway, the first of those is coming out in a few days. Oh, and again, go back to FarsightPrime.com to see the conversation with Harvey, which is actually a conversation between Aziz and his sister Ebonique. Now, what I want to start today with is something very simple: memory. Now, I'm not talking about personal memory or anything like that. I'm talking about civilization memory. Now, let me be a little personal, though, myself. I spent much of my life in academia. I've taught at major universities, Emory, UCLA, Michigan, and elsewhere, including abroad in Africa. I prepared carefully for those classes. And honestly, I think I said really important things. And some of those ideas really mattered. And today, every word is gone. No recordings, no transcripts, no searchable archive. When the class ended, it vanished, as if it had never happened. Well, that is not an accident. That is how the system is designed. Academia feels permanent, big buildings made of rock. But it isn't. It's actually ephemeral by design. And academic publishing doesn't solve that problem. Publishing takes years. The review of articles that are being published takes years. And by the time something appears, very few people read it. And almost nobody remembers it. Eventually, you run out of years. And that's the moment I want to talk about today. Because something fundamental has changed. Fundamental. Memory has moved outside of institutions. And for the first time in human history, it is not possible to erase it again. So, let's talk about the illusion of academic permanence. You see, academia, universities, colleges, it feels permanent, but it's actually amnesiac. Faculty teach, students listen, but the moment passes. Even brilliant ideas are lost by design. So, let's talk about why academic publishing fails. Academic publishing today has 4 fatal problems for anyone doing paradigm-level work. First is time asymmetry. It takes years to publish a single work, and it takes weeks to be dismissed by critics. No long-term memory, and second, there's a veto power within academic publishing. The reviewers that judge articles, whether to publish them or not, they don't just judge the answers, they reject the questions. And if a question threatens ontology, it never survives peer review. Third, no conversion mechanism exists. Even a successful article rarely changes minds. It decorates a curriculum vitae or CV, and that's it. And fourth, and this is the cruel one, you run out of years. Journals are optimized to consume a human life slowly. Take someone like Graham Hancock. He writes books. He reaches millions. He still gets attacked relentlessly. He's not an academic, but he writes serious books. And notice this, even he keeps his ideas tightly bounded. One catastrophe, one timeline, no extraterrestrials, and still the Academy ridicules him without engaging his evidence or his dialogue seriously. Now, Farsight goes much further than Hancock. So, expecting academic acceptance has never been a realistic path for Farsight. So let's talk about the truth about academia, and let's be very clear. We are not failing to break into academia. No, that's not the problem. Academia has exited the conversation that we are having. Modern academia is optimized for credential reproduction, not discovery. Risk minimization, not truth-seeking. Boundary policing, not debate. Once someone is associated with remote viewing, non-local consciousness, extraterrestrials, ontology breaks frameworks. They are no longer debated. They are contained, like in a box. So, why do academics avoid debate? Well, academics avoid public debate for 3 rational reasons. Now, the first one is that they cannot win cleanly. Debate requires ontological openness, and their frameworks forbid that. Second, debate implies legitimacy, meaning you don't debate somebody who doesn't have some level of legitimacy. So silence implies dismissal, and they vote for silence. Third, they don't control the venue. Journals are safe. Video is dangerous. And this is not personal fear, it's systemic fear. So let's pivot to paradigms. You see, paradigms no longer move through academia. So here's the pivot. Paradigms no longer move from academia to the public. It's not like academia discovers something new, a major new paradigm, and then it's eventually accepted by the public. That's not happening. Paradigms move outside of the castle first. When the city outside the castle becomes larger than the castle itself, the gates stop mattering. Now, if you looked at the thumbnail for today's talk, that's what that's all about, the castle and the surrounding modern city. That is how paradigm change actually happens in real life. So, what does really engagement look like now? You do not need to convince professors. I do not need to convince professors. What we at Farsight need to do is to create undeniable visibility. We have to force citation without permission. Without them giving us permission, we have to force them to cite us, to force citation. We have to make silence, which is their choice, costly. And that's it. And Farsight is already doing this. Let me explain. Why is this possible now? It was not possible before. This is where AI changes everything. AI does not, artificial intelligence, it does not care when something was said. AI only cares that it exists. It's complete. It's accessible. Now, universities produce lectures. Farsight produces the immortality of ideas. Every video, every transcript, every word is preserved. Nothing disappears. So, let's shift to live streaming. This is so important for you guys in the future and for us. You have to understand the live streaming thing because we're blowing up with live streaming. You're going to see something that you've never imagined before. Let's talk about why live streaming matters. Live streaming, and that's not just a spotlight. We're going to be live streaming everywhere, and it took a long time for us to get to this point. Let me explain. Live streaming does three things no edited product can ever do. The first is presence. It exists in the present tense. It cannot be retroactively dismissed. It's there. You're live. Second, there's irreversibility. Now, a paper can be ignored. A book can be ignored. But a live stream is witnessed by tens of thousands, and it becomes a historical event. Third, epistemic independence. Live thinking resists caricature. Viewers see cognition unfold in real time, and this is not content. This is presence. You are there. And now the location of the live streaming is important. It's a signal. Listen to this. We're going to be starting remote live streaming in unbelievable places, remote places. Okay, let me give you a little bit of a window of what we're going to be doing. Our ET friends told us we're supposed to bring them to you. See, the ETs that we interact with are not interacting with us so that we can be special. They're interacting with us because they want to show through us the example of how they want to talk with everybody else. They need an example, so they tell us we have to put everything on video. They make sure all of our videos are the right way. They make sure we use the right software. They make sure we use the right cameras. Everything. You have no idea how much we've been told what to do. And the point is, they want to make sure that you see us not as saviors. Not as saviors. Farsight is not a savior. We're supposed to be just examples so you can see, oh, so that's how you do it. They want to talk to you. They don't want any secrecy. They showed up in November and December of last year. They showed up in, it was 2024. They showed up in tens of thousands, like number of thousands of ships, maybe 10,000, I don't know how many, but they were all over the whole planet for like 2.5, 3 months. They're not afraid of showing you, and they announced on armed meetings when they were going to do it, and a few days later they did it, and it was perfectly timed, and they don't want to hide anything. They want the complete secrecy to end, and you can't say, well, then just show your ships. They did show their ships, but it requires more than that. It requires that the war that's between what we call the good ETs and the bad ETs be resolved so that they can literally land and show themselves and talk. And so what they're doing now is they're using us as an example for how you can safely interact with them. Safely, because shooting happens if they physically show up and you can see them and things like that. The authorities try to capture them. It's called the crash retrieval program, where they literally go after them and try to capture them and imprison them and things like that. So, and I'm getting that from congressional hearings, folks. So, if it's in congressional hearings, there's something there. So, remote live streaming, we're taking you to distant locations. We're taking you to where we have been going for years in different places to have these secret meetings in, in weird places, middle of the night and everything like that. We're taking you with us now, starting like right away. And remote live streaming is not aesthetic. It's epistemic. It's signaling, epistemic signaling. The beach, our camper, the night sky, a remote desert. These places say this knowledge does not originate in universities. It does not require permission. It exists where reality actually happens, and that matters, especially to younger scholars and to you. So, let's talk about the scale of reality check. Listen to this, folks. A professor, look, I'm a professor at a major university. I know what I'm talking about. A professor reaches, at very best, hundreds per year, sometimes many fewer than that. Farsight reaches hundreds of thousands. And unlike classrooms, this audience replays. It shares. It archives. It cross-links. It remixes. Farsight is already operating beyond academic pedagogy. Academia just hasn't admitted it yet. So, there's a layered strategy that we have, and this is how we work now. So, layer 1, high-end video for humans. We've invested a lot in learning how to do that. Layer 2, verbatim transcripts for researchers and for everybody else, but for researchers so that they get everything documented, every single word, time-stamped. You can cite such stuff. Layer 3, AI analysis, which is semantic structure, pattern detection, replication. At that point, nobody can say, this is anecdotal, this can't be analyzed, it's just storytelling. They can't say that because it already has been. It exists. Now, let's talk about how live streams become citable. Academia doesn't cite video. It just doesn't do that. Academia cites text with coordinates. Now, our live streams are verbatim. They're time-stamped. They're speaker-labeled. They're locked. And that makes them primary sources. We don't demand recognition. We simply make our work stable, permanent, searchable, quotable. Academia does the rest. Slowly, defensively, but also they do it late. That's why we are quotable, because after we do our stuff that's stable, permanent, searchable, and quotable, academia does the rest. Again, slowly and defensively and late, but they eventually do it because we have this stuff that's solid, citable. Now let's make a clarification here about telepathy. This is sort of important because there's been a debate about something that keeps popping up. And sometimes recently it's been popping up in our forums on FarsightPrime.com, and it's also been popping up on YouTube, on the YouTube discussion area. Some people have suggested that telepathic overlay nullifies remote viewing. And the argument goes like this. Because a human designs the target, the tasker's expectations control the results by telepathically influencing the remote viewer. Now let me be very clear about that. That argument is not a critique of Farsight. It is an attack on remote viewing itself, no matter who is doing it. Friends, telepathy is not a flaw. It is the mechanism, literally the mechanism about why and how remote viewing works in the first place. I quite literally wrote the book on the relationship between telepathy and remote viewing, so I know what I'm talking about. The book, let me grab it right now. Excuse me. Okay. Here it is, the book, Remote Viewing, the Science and Theory of Non-Physical Perception. The whole book is about that topic. So when people say, you know, they don't know what they're talking about, it's all telepathic overlay, I say, what? I wrote the book on that thing. And, you know, so here, let me tell you, here is the key point that people miss. Remote viewing does not work in the absence of telepathy. Telepathy is not noise. It is the signal. But here is the distinction that really matters. Telepathy determines where to look, not what to see. You get that? It determines where to look, not what to see. And that difference is everything. Think of it like a laser pointer. Use that analogy. Now, the thoughts of the analyst act like a laser pointer. They focus the remote viewer's attention to a specific time and place. They do not determine the content of what the remote viewer sees. It just gets them to the right time and place. And without that focusing mechanism, the viewer has no reason to look anywhere in particular. So yes, intent matters. But intent is about location, not imagery. You see, the remote viewer is doing the session for the intent of satisfying the informational needs of the analyst. So their thoughts, the analyst's thoughts about where to go, is what's important. So why does this not contaminate the data at Farsight? Well, or anywhere that remote viewing is done properly. At Farsight, our viewers work totally blind to the targets and the nature of the project. There is no front loading of any kind. And we even have AI analyze the data before the humans do. And every project includes verifiable elements to confirm correct time and place. Let's take, for example, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, we expect viewers to perceive the pyramids in the desert. Those are big things. People moving large stone blocks, ancient construction activity, and all of that is verifiable. But how the pyramids were built was completely unknown to us when we did that project. In fact, let me be honest, when we did that project, I expected the floating stones to be on water. That's how I thought the stones were going to get put into place, floating on water on like rafts of some type. But that's not what the viewers saw. So if telepathy was involved in determining what they saw, they would have seen stones floating on rafts, and the whole area where the pyramids were being built would have been flooded. None of them saw anything like that. If telepathy controlled content, they would have seen my expectation, and they didn't. They saw something else. So, we have additional safeguards as well. At Farsight, we also clear our desks before we analyze sessions. We meditate before analysis. We minimize preconceptions. We introduce verbatim transcripts, and we produce verbatim transcripts, and with nothing missing, no summaries. And we have the AI analyze the data before the humans do. Often the AI is the first analyst. AI doesn't replace human perception here. It just helps us see what humans consistently report in an objective manner. In an objective manner. So that further removes the human bias from the interpretation phase. So let's talk about the real logical flaw in the overlay argument that some people say is a reason to dismiss all remote viewing, saying that telepathy invalidates remote viewing. Saying that is like saying that speech is invalid because humans can lie. I mean, people can lie, so don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything that's coming out of someone's mouth. The solution is not to stop communicating. The solution is discernment. Telepathy is communication. It transmits information, but it does not relieve us of the responsibility to think. So, friends, what this really is, let me sum up the following way. This isn't about winning arguments. It isn't about replacing institutions, like replacing universities, no. And it isn't about being right. It's about remembering. Civilizations survive when memory survives, and they collapse when memory is erased. Farsight is not the savior. It was never meant to be the savior. Farsight is the archive, the memory store. And for the first time, that archive is permanent. Way more permanent than the words of any university professor. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to follow anyone. Just watch what is being preserved and ask yourself why that was never allowed before. Preservation is not belief. It is responsibility. That's all. So friends, let me wrap up by saying something that's beyond important. We're going to be taking you to places now with our live streams, all over the place. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and when you click on the subscription key, when the subscription tab, a bell pops up. That's a notification bell. That's when they send you an email that tells you when we're doing something, such as doing a live stream. If you want to be there when we do these things live, into these remote locations where we've been going for years, and we're being told to bring you along with us and show you everything. That's when we're actually making video recordings of ET ships above our heads, when we're talking to the ETs, everything. We're supposed to be bringing you along with us, even if it's in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, like what we do. In remote locations that nobody knows where it is, we're supposed to bring you along. That's what's going to happen. And it's going to happen a few times a month, regularly, in addition to these spotlights. So live streams are going to become really important. Now, we're still coming out with all of our videos, our major videos. Our pipeline is now full, and we now know how to do everything that we want to do. Our mysteries are coming out, and the mysteries now, you got to talk to my son, Aziz. It's unbelievable the level of stuff that he's going. If you've ever watched the Stargate series, imagine Daniel Jackson on steroids times 1,000. That's what you're going to be getting. We got to put all this stuff up on FarsightPrime.com. But the live streams you're going to see on YouTube. So you've got to be connected with YouTube in order to see all that stuff. And now listen, this is important. We are also going to be using our email list that you get at farsight.org. So at the top of the nav bar on farsight.org, our regular website, you can click on subscribe to the email list. The only ways that we're going to be able to get you is that email list, and if you click on the notification bell that YouTube has when you subscribe to our channel, Farsight, on YouTube. You got to do that, folks, or you're going to miss everything. And now, additionally, this is it. All of our major projects, including all of the new major mysteries that are going to be coming out, they're coming out on FARSIGHT'S.com. We can't put them out on YouTube. Talk about rattling the rafters. This stuff is bigger than big. When you talk about, for example, religions, every single region has these different religions, and everyone thinks they're sort of separate. No, they're not. The same people are creating these religions all over, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in parts of Asia, whether you're in the Middle East, it's the same ETs that are doing this. Now, I have to also mention, the world is coming apart now. I mentioned last time that 2025 was a really tough year for everybody. Trust me about this, folks. We've been doing remote viewing for a long time. We know what's coming. 2026 is going to be much worse. To keep involved, to keep in touch with everything that's coming, you really got to be connected with us on FARSIGHT'S.com. We're putting out as much as we can, including analysis of sessions we've already done that have timestamps such that we can see what's actually going on now. And in the previously, we just released a video on the Venezuela stuff that happened in Venezuela, and we went through. This is one of the spotlights. We went through the Venezuela stuff that we had in our sessions and compared it to what's going on right now. It matches perfectly. And those sessions were done in October and November of last year. Trust me, folks, if you want to know what's going on, this year is the time when you really want to know what's going on. So, keep in touch with what we're doing. Academia may try to dismiss us for a while until they're forced to cite us because of the way everything that we are doing is being citable. With transcripts, everything locked in, time-stamped and everything, people can quote us. Even if it's done reluctantly, the AIs are not going to be able to miss it. We're talking about these subjects. And when we talk about things, people are listening. When a university professor, for example, teaches a class, there can be anything from 4 or 5 students up to 30, 40, 50, sometimes a couple hundred. These live streams that I have, just these spotlights, typically hit 10,000 people a week. 10,000. And you're also getting replays and sharing and, things like that with it. So Farsight already is at a level that's way above sort of the pedagogical university standard. And what we're going to be doing now with the live streams is going to put us into a level that's incredible. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notifications bell so that you can hear when we're actually doing these things. Because we're going to do them, and we're just going to turn on the live stream. And we're not going to be able to announce in advance what we're going to be doing, because that could cause some security issues. So sometimes we're just going to say, we're starting now, and you'll suddenly get an email saying the live stream for Farsight is on now, and we're in some distant location. And where we are, there's no internet, and there's no cell phone. I'll tell you the truth, we're using Starlink. It's the only way we can do this in these places that we go. There's nothing out there. Oh, there's some fish, there's some birds, bugs, but there's nothing that's like for civilization. And we're out there, and we've been doing this for years. And so we had to gear up. We have campers. We have a way to sort of locate where we are, and then we have to Starlink in order to connect with the internet, and that's what we're going to bring you. That's where we're going to bring you, in the middle of the night very often. And sometimes when we do video photography or video recording of extraterrestrial spaceships that are above our heads, that'll be in the middle of the day, because we use infrared type of cameras that are high frame rate type of thing, so you'll actually see us doing it, and we show you the results. This whole idea of wondering whether 3i Atlas, Oumuamua, or some other ship may have ET technology in it or whatever, or if it's a comet, what the heck, they're right over your head, and you can take a video recording of them at any time. There's so many of them, they're just all cloaked. We have showed you how to get rid of the cloak so you can see them, and you'll see us going out live, recording them live, and talking to them live. You want to see that? I tell you, look, we did an awful lot to get ready to be able to do this. So this is what you really want to do. So friends, subscribe. If you've never subscribed to FarsightPrime.com, do so now. If you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel and hit that notifications bell, do so now. If you have not yet gotten our email newsletter from the top of the menu bar on farsight.org, do so now. This is the show. This is the program. This is the agenda. This is the reality that you want to see now, this year, in 2026, when the world starts to fall apart. We will be there with you. All right, everybody. It's been really great. I don't know what the time is now. I don't know. Let me see. Do I see the time? Oh, it's 7:40. So we've been talking for about 40 minutes. But I've covered everything I needed to cover. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that, all right? And I will see you next week on Sunday, whether it's right here in the studio, which it will be for next Sunday, or sometimes the spotlights will be in the middle of nowhere. But we'll still be able to do the spotlights. We'll still be able to do the live streams because we'll be using Starlink. So that's great. Keep up with the world news today. Not just today, but this week and this month. A lot is changing, and it follows what our remote viewing sessions have been saying for a very long time. So next week I'm probably going to be, enough of the world is going to be changing by next week that I'm going to be able to wrap up some of the sessions that we've done and show you the connection between the sessions, what we said was going to happen and what's actually happening. A lot is going to be happening this year. And on a week-by-week basis, a lot's going to happen as well. All right, everybody. So look, I'll see you next week, all right? And regularly every Sunday, and with the new live streams, which are going to be all over the place. All right? Take care, everybody. See you in a week.